Let's do it. Alrighty, here we go. My name is Marty Fox from White Fox. Now, here's the deal.
Welcome. You are listening and potentially watching as well another With the Fox, Marty Fox. My name is Stuart Taft. And if in case it sounds or looks a little different, we're back in the office, Marty. We're back in the
Yeah, no, it's just the sun's out, it's spring, and I don't want to get stuck in the boardroom.
So we are joined today by the second guest that we've had on With the Fox, who is a member of our team. But his story is very interesting. He's a great bloke. I know you've had a storied history with him even before White Fox, which is why it's going to be so good. This man was the block before you were the block. And he's done it all. Queensland boy, come good. Jesse Raeburn, welcome to With the Fox. We're going to get to your history. I want to start by saying, if you were giving someone an elevator pitch, they would go, hey, who are you? Tell us about yourself. What would your elevator pitch be for yourself?
Yeah, well, thanks again for having me. Love to be here. Beautiful spot in the office. Obviously, I'm here a bit. But elevator pitch is, I'm a tradie who sells houses. And that's how probably a lot of my clients sort of feel about me as well. They're like, you just don't feel like a real estate agent. Like I'm a tradie at heart. Obviously, I used to be a tiler. Did that for, 8 years. I've been doing actually real estate longer now than I was actually a tradie, which is crazy.
So you're actually really just a real estate agent that's good with a hammer and a nail.
Yeah, it's gone the other way.
It's gone the other way. Finally.
But yeah, I was, I love houses. Real estate was like a natural progression. It felt like it was always my dream to do it. But yeah, 30-second pitch. I'm a tradie who sells houses, and now real estate who.
But I remember the very first day I met Jesse. Jesse would have been early 20s. Mm-hmm. I think I probably would have been 24, 25. And I was a director at Wilson in Balaclava. And it was the first real estate office that I had been running. I probably had 3 or 4 staff at the time. And then Jesse, he just walks in the door and this is what he said.
Yeah, well, I literally went to 50 different agencies trying to get a job because I moved from Queensland with, didn't even have a resume. I had to draw one up. And I'm applying online, going around to different real estate agencies looking for a job, and no one would hire me. Because why would you? I was 24 years old, had long surfer hair. I had a massive 4-wheel drive Ford Ranger XLT with 35-inch mud terrains, a 2-inch lift. It was a manual in Melbourne. I stood out. And I wouldn't hire me either. But I met Marty and I was like, mate, here's my story. I've gave up everything. I had a successful business on my own. I was trading for 3 years. My dream to sell real estate. I've been watching your videos on YouTube. I think we have a similar personality. We're up and about. I'd love to come and work for you.
I just bought into the energy, which I've always done.
I was going to say, that's what you love.
I was just engaged from the moment he walked in. He was just full of life, full of ambition, full of dreams. And I just thought, what have I got to lose than to teach this guy the mechanics of real estate? He's switched on. I knew that he was great with numbers straight away. And that was always part of his listing ability. He'd speak numbers so off cuff and so eloquently that vendors actually believed that he was far more progressed in real estate than what he was, because he was, memorizing things like understanding square rates and what things had sold for over the past 12 months and just rattling off numbers in listings that he had their trust purely based on his intelligence.
Well, you're a knowledge is power man, obviously.
Yeah, knowledge is power. I think,
But I think that's where you catch a lot of people, because Absolutely. You are a tradie who actually has a very high, I believe, natural IQ. So he's got this ability where his EQ is great, but he's actually got a really high IQ. And that's what a lot of people probably don't understand when they first catch up with Jesse.
They hear the Aussie, the accent.
They hear the twang.
Relaxed, But you've got that acumen, which is actually very important.
And it was probably one of the best first few years in real estate that I'd ever seen. I mean, the numbers that we were writing, this is back in, over 10 years ago, are probably just as substantial as what they are today.
My first sale in real estate was, I was a second agent on a $140,000 studio on Grey Street, and it took me 3 months to sell it, and I earned $400 out of it. And I was like, I can't survive on this. I literally can't survive. So I said to Marty, mate, I reckon I'm going to go in and try and we're going to list properties at 3%. And at the time, we were competing against agents who were doing 1%, 1.5%, 2% was a really good fee. And I was like, well, you always taught me to be memorable. And I'm like, how memorable is it if we're going into an appointment
and we lose it because we're the most expensive?
At least we're 3%. Like, we're so memorable.
And what we worked out was that if we just got 3 of the 10, we're probably going to work out to have relatively the same amount of income if we just go in competing against the others.
So how did you get that first one at 3, given everyone was so low? How did that work?
Easiest listing sale of my career. It was a letterbox drop. I had a genuine buyer. Handwritten, hi, I've got a genuine buyer who is looking to purchase your home. They've identified your home in particular. If you're thinking about selling, please give me a call. I dropped that letter like literally first month. 3rd, 4th month into real estate, I got a phone call from the guy, 31 The Avenue in Balaclava. He calls, hey, I got your letter. Just want to, is it real? I said, mate, it's genuine. Yep, real buyer. Happy for you to meet the buyer. Or why don't you come over? So I go over with him. We sit down. We go, what would you like to get? What's the price you want? He said 1.9 million. Perfect. Well, our fee is 3%. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to pay for myself. So 3% of 1.9 million, it's about $54,000. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put an asking price of $1,960,000 on the authority. So then you're going to net 1.9. How's that? I'll pay for myself. The easiest listing appointment goes, I can't argue with that.
And even better, the guy that bought it was a client of mine.
Yeah, a client of yours.
Sam Lardo. And then the rest is history.
So that was a listing
that gave you the belief that you just had to change what you were pitching, change the value, and that's how you were able to have a win-win situation. That's what listing is. You can get higher fees if the net result is the same, if not better, than with the
vendor
agent that's doing it for cheaper.
Yeah, and I still use that dialogue. Like, what is the price that you want to achieve? Because I have a fee that I like to maintain. And they tell you outright, I want to get $3 million. All right, perfect. Well, my fee is this.
But that's also now you working smarter, not harder, because you won't have to do the same turnover that another agent at White Fox may need to do that's charging less, so that you can still do your developments on the side and renovate and spend time with the kids. Like, it's understanding what your output needs to be relative to income.
Yeah, definitely. And if you want to compete on fee, like, I just think they're not going to choose you based just on fee. Fee is like one component of it. Most people want to know that you're the best agent for the job. You understand the product. You're good at selling. You follow up. The experience. A lot of my clients have, like, I've either sold a property to them or referrals. So obviously it gets a little bit easier because they get to experience what it is like working with you. But I find fee is not the most important thing. Like, it's one of the things that go into choosing an agent. So try to push for a higher fee.
Can I say, I have to say, I've been in real estate 3 years now, and I've done a lot of vendor testimonials for our agents. I did some for you before you'd even started at White Fox, in fact, the week that you started. And I have to say, I haven't met any vendors who like their agents more than yours. In the sense that, like, it was so genuine. They said, Jesse's a mate of mine. He did the right thing by me. He kept in contact. And I remember thinking, how do I make this come across on camera so people understand this is real? We haven't set these people up and said, talk about Jesse and tell us how good he is. These people volunteered the information. So you're very, very good at netting in that communication, and that relationship between you and your vendors is real. Like,
yeah, it is real,
them, which is quite unique.
Yeah, well, I say that all the time. A mate of mine just sold their house. Really, they're a client who has just sold their house. I've known them for a couple of years and met them through real estate. But a lot of my clients have become really good friends, particularly because I'm from Queensland. I didn't know a single person in Melbourne when I moved here. I don't have any family here whatsoever. So a lot of my clients have become a close circle of friends. People will babysit my kids and things like that.
On that, moving from Queensland and seeing where Melbourne has struggled over the years with the lockdowns and so forth, and seeing the Queensland market just flourish, has there been that sort of desire to want to go back? Like, what kept you here? How did you sort of weather the storm?
Yeah, well, when the first lockdown happened, I just bought a house and I was about to do a big renovation. And I said to Mel, my partner, I want to get out of here. I want to go back to Queensland. And she's like, nah, we're not going. We've bought a house. You're saying you want to build. We're going to build it. We're going to finish it. And then once we finish, then you can decide if you want to go back. And I was like, I really needed that kick in the bum. Like, you can't go running home with your tail between your legs.
But also, how good was having that house to renovate during that lockdown period?
Yeah, well, it was awesome.
It kept you busy.
Yeah, because everyone was locked in their house and they couldn't leave. But, you were all able to build. Construction didn't stop. And so managed to build a house and had a lot of fun with it. I wasn't selling houses. So, we built that house in 6 months when most people would take 12.
And who sold that house?
Lana and Michael Darham.
Unbelievable result.
Look, we'll talk some numbers. Like, we bought it for $890,000. I did the renovation for $300,000 because I did it myself. It was 120 square meters, south facing, no parking, and we sold it for $1.6 million.
It's huge money. What's that worth now, do you think? Probably can't say.
I can't say.
But it was a beautiful campaign. You did everything that we would advise our clients to do. It had beautiful marketing. It was open 3 times a week. You had a great team running it, and
It's you know, it sounds like you bamboozled something. You didn't bamboozle. It's a beautiful house.
Well, no, it had
You did
competition.
Really nice.
There was a lack of stock for what that type of asset was.
Great area too.
Single level,
Yeah.
turnkey, perfect inner city pad.
Yeah.
How's us now trying to sell like it? No, but it really was.
Yeah, it was a great house. Yeah, well,
And also, you had products in there that your average punter probably wouldn't have included because of your connections with the block and suppliers, and you were able to get a lot of product that would have been overcapitalizing for your standard Joe Blow in the street.
Yeah, like the tiles that we put in our bathroom with $250 a square meter.
Yeah, exactly.
Like people aren't doing that. They're getting $30 a square meter tiles, all the tapware, all those things, the fixtures and fittings. It was a very high fit out. The only reason we built it for such a reasonable price is because I was the builder. I did all the tiling, the carpentry, the floor laying, the waterproofing, a lot of plastering, all the paving, fencing. I literally built the house.
Was it like you were back on the block?
Yeah, it was like I was back on the block.
How did the block come about? Because I remember when you came into Wilson, which was the business that first, got your real estate career up and running, and you said that you were a massive block fan and that one day you wanted to be on the block.
Yeah, I was telling people that was like, I wanted to move to Melbourne to do real estate, but in my mind as well, the block's in Melbourne and I'd always wanted to be on the block. So in the back of my mind, that was a bit of a motivation. Like, the dream is you move to Melbourne, you get on the block. And so that was probably the only reason why I didn't go with you when you started White Fox originally, because it was 2017 and the block had just announced that they'd bought the Gatwick, which for people who don't know, the Gatwick is on Fitzroy Street in St Kilda.
Directly next to our old office.
Next to my office that we used to work at Wilson.
Like directly next to
Yeah. There's like our office at 50 Fitzroy Street. There's a block of apartments and then there's the Gatwick. And so, you're like, I'm going to start White Fox. And I'm like, man, I'm going to get on the block. And like, you never know.
And you weren't even on the block, but
No,
you literally
I wasn't
said,
even on the block.
I said, look, I'm starting White Fox. And you said, well, I'm going to get on the block. And I was like, mate, good luck. Go for it.
Yeah, so people come up to me all the time, well, how do you get on the block? I've tried so many times and I always ask them, well, what have you done? What have you tried to do to get on the block? I've filled out an application. I'm like, have you finished it? No, I haven't finished it. I'm like, all right, do you want me to tell you what I did to get on the block? So I listed a property for $15 million because I thought to get on the block, it'd be good to sell them a block, right? So I listed a property around the corner from our office for $15 million.
Which one was that one?
It was on Park Street. It was like a 1,500 square metre site. Already had plans and permits for like 5 townhouses.
Yes. And then it went up with, I think, Collier's.
I don't think it's sold.
No, but it went to a commercial agent after you. Yes.
But didn't sell anyway. So I tried to sell it to them for $15 million, but I needed to
it got
meet
your
him
connection.
First. It got me a connection. I needed to meet him first. So I was like sending emails.
So this is no different to an agent saying that they've got a buyer wanting to list a property for sale.
Yeah.
It's you just done it in reverse.
I literally listed Julian Crest to become an agent on the show first.
And Julian Crest being the founder of the block.
Julian Crest being the founder, creator of the block.
Yeah.
With David Barber. So listed him to become an agent. Hurt his ego. Like I did some other things for him. Like I got them a house to use as a challenge on the show. My mate just finished building the oldest house in St Kilda. It was like 1836 construction. He just finished. I was like, how'd you like to see your house on TV? Oh, I'd love that. So they got them to use it for like 2 weeks. They did a challenge there. Heaps of other stuff.
So the first role on the block was you were able to meet the founders, then get them a challenge house, and then be in the running for one of the contestants to use you as their agent.
Yeah, that's right. So Julian introduced
And what series was this?
2018 at the Gatwick.
So this was the Gatwick one, okay.
Yeah. So I was introduced to 2 of the contestants. Courtney and Hans ultimately ended up choosing me to be their agent, which was fantastic. I was like their fairy godmother because my office was right next to them. So when they were struggling, I could just go down, talk to them. They could bounce ideas off me, which I think that's a major role of you being the agent with the contestant is just like holding their hand and being a shoulder that they can cry on because it's hectic. They go through so much. It's difficult when you're on the show. It's more difficult watching it on TV because you don't know what's about to come out.
That must have given you a good insight into what was to come, though, when you eventually got on the show because you saw the stress that they went through, right?
Yeah, so 2018, sold a house, 2019.
So when you sold the house for them, were you also the auctioneer?
I was the auctioneer.
Okay, so we've both now called auctions on the block. Mm-hmm. Is that possibly one of the hardest things to do? with the cameras and the crowd and just the gravitas of just all those eyeballs on you?
Yeah, well, so I'd been in real estate for 2 years. I'd probably only called like 6 auctions at the time. And all of a sudden
I was at your first auction in Richmond.
Yeah, you're my first auction in Richmond. And our auction training was driving back from a listing at Mount Martha on Park Street, which we sold for like 2.5 million. And I didn't even know where that suburb was on the map. But we somehow set like the suburb record at the time. And we're driving back and we're just like punching one-liners, practicing auction practice. It was like a 2-hour drive. So that was our auction training. And then I did half a dozen auctions beforehand. I was really comfortable. And then before doing the block auction in 2018, I wrote my auction script like 2 months before the auction. I knew exactly what I wanted to say because the home was already finished. So I knew what it was like. Wrote it, refined it, and then I was just practicing it.
So when the cameras were rolling?
When the cameras were rolling.
How did it come out?
I've never been more comfortable doing an auction, like in my life, or more prepared.
Than on the block?
That's
insane.
In front of 2 million people. It was the greatest introduction I've ever done, preamble. Didn't make a mistake with a number. I never checked the penciler. And my auction went for over an hour.
Who was the penciler?
Brendan Walker.
Oh, that's so good.
Absolute legend. Still one of my best mates today. So yeah, and they really liked me. So I applied for the show as well, as you have to. I didn't tell Mel that I was applying. I was just telling her we're going to get some food at Topolino's. And on the way, I had Brendan meet me at the apartment. We just renovated. And I said, hey, look, we're filming for the intro. And she didn't like that, but she did it anyway. But yeah, we became contestants in 2019. So we did a lot more than just put an application in. Like I hustled for a full year and like put this out there into the universe like 3 years beforehand for it to happen.
And on a scale of 1 to 10, being a contestant, how hard is this?
It's like 11.
It's 11. It's literally
so much harder than you think it is. And I tell people, like, you think it looks difficult watching on TV. They're filming for 16 to 18 hours a day and you're watching 45 minutes of it without ads. And you're only seeing a highlight reel of maybe 12 minutes on each contestant a night. That's all you're seeing, really. If you break it down, maybe you see 15 minutes a day of each contestant. And they're filming us for like 16 hours a day. And it goes for 14 weeks.
And people always say, do they tell you what to do? And it's like, no, they gather so much information because the cameras are just rolling. But isn't that true? They tell you nothing.
Nothing.
People think that the block's produced and that they give you direction. No, you couldn't get further from the truth.
We had to build this massive void. It was like 6 by 6 meters, like 3 stories high, this void in their house. And they just walked in on the Monday and go, here you go, here's the engineering, don't make a mistake. And they walk out. And you're left there to go, all right, we'll have to figure this out on their own.
Well, the floor plans were revealed last season. I remember that was...
Yeah, there's little alterations here and there. But I mean, essentially the block's the block. Yeah. It's very organic. You've got to be extremely self-motivated. You've got to have a thick skin. You've got to be prepared to, be sleep deprived. You've got to be prepared to, possibly, have an argument. You see most contestants have a pretty, bickering relationship throughout that entire process. How did you guys do?
That's one of my actual, a gripe I have with new contestants watching them on. And, I guess if you're just a Joe Blow watching the block at home, you probably don't understand and maybe you can't sort of talk about it. But it frustrates me when I see them complain about, I didn't know it was going to be this hard. And it's like the first week and they're whinging that, it's so hard, I'm not sleeping.
Yeah, but does that not make you see similarities with real estate? I mean, when we hire someone, it's all friggin' bright-eyed, bushy-tailed. They love the videos. They love the social media, selling houses, sold stickers, champagne's flowing. And then 4 months in, they're broken.
Oh, people think you're just driving around wearing nice clothes and walking through nice houses. It's real estate...
Is it harder than being a tradie?
It's so much harder than being a tradie. When I was a tradie, I was physically exhausted, but I still had energy to go to the gym every day. I was eating 6 meals a day when I was a tradie because I just stopped when I want to. You just work with your hands. So I found construction much easier than real estate.
And what makes real estate so hard? And this is coming from someone that, you're street smart, you're book smart, you're a hard worker, you've got a lot of purpose, you've got 2 beautiful kids, beautiful partner, you've got properties, you flip, you renovate, but yet you still struggle a lot. Why?
It's actually real estate is very mentally draining. I'm an extrovert, so I give people a lot of energy. And when they give it back, I feed off it. Like, I'm like you, I want to be around good people. But the last couple of years in real estate, I think have been like very difficult. The last 4 years, like COVID feels like so long ago, but I think there's still a lag effect of COVID because a lot of people are selling because they've been divorced or they're in financial hardship. Like, it's a very difficult time in the economy.
Yeah, and their heaviness, when you're an extrovert, you absorb that.
You absorb it, right? And because you care about people and you want to get them a good result. And so you put all of their concerns and ambitions and hopes on your shoulders because you're selling their biggest asset. Like, if you do not get a good result for this person, they might not be able to afford to move on. You know, like, it might be the difference between them being able to buy another house or having to rent another house.
Or keep their kids in the school that they're currently in.
That's right. Keep their
What
kids.
percentage of news do you think you give as an agent to your vendors is positive versus negative? Because it's not 50-50, is it?
No,
It
it's not
fluctuates.
50-50.
Yeah.
At the beginning, it tends to be very positive. Otherwise, you'll lose the listing. But it's a balancing act of making sure that you're not promising them something that's totally unachievable. So you've got to be really reliant on past data and how to analyze that data in a way where it makes sense. And then in the marketing, it's, you know, pretty positive. And then the opens and then the campaign is a mixed bag. I mean, you've been a vendor last year, Shuey.
Totally.
Again, it is a mixed bag.
And by the way, getting a result doesn't always mean a good result, right? Some vendors will go, okay, we've sold, we'll accept the price that we're given, but we're actually upset with that.
Yeah.
And you've got to deal with it.
Yeah.
And
I mean, don't say that after we've spoken about yours because you had progression and profit.
I'm talking about
So
myself.
you're one of the lucky ones.
I mean, in general, like, it's not a fait accompli that the person who has sold the house is absolutely wrapped with the result, right?
No, that's so true. The last 2 years in particular, I found has been like the most challenging in terms of, because the market, it's trying to pick what a house will sell for is like throwing a dart blindfolded at the moment, I feel. I'm listing some beautiful homes, 100 groups through a 3-week campaign and 0 offers. And then listing a property that's not desirable, having 12 groups through a 3-week campaign and getting 2 offers and selling it above the range. Like, it just doesn't make sense at the moment. But I think, like, you know, starting 2 years ago when the market sort of started to come down a little bit, you're still coming off the back of the COVID market. So you're very positive and upbeat in that. But then I think the last 12 months, you're not being negative, but instead of going in there over optimistic and over positive and confident, being like more realistic from the start, like sort of preparing them that, look, this campaign might not go to plan, but we do have a plan in place if it doesn't. And rather than just walking in so confident, I'm going to get the best result, I'm the best agent ever, and then 2 weeks into the campaign, you've had 5 people through and it hasn't gone to plan. And it's like, well, why didn't you tell me this at the start? So I've just been a lot more open and honest with my clients. Look, this is what you would like to expect. This is sort of where we see value. This is where we expect offers. Like, are you comfortable to go to market based on that? And all the time they're saying yes. They appreciate the honesty. I'm not losing business because I'm over promising at the moment, which is good because it means we're selling everything.
That's also something that you build as your career continues to evolve. Like, you've got the capacity and knowledge to be able to explain where things are at today so that you're not just thinking about the listing. It's not just listing.
No, it's not just a listing. And because people at the moment are coming to you to make a very big financial decision. A lot of them are selling because they have to financially. So when they're asking you, I need to achieve X, and it's like, well, I don't think it's there. So you need to make a decision. Do you still want to sell? And most of the time they're saying yes. They just appreciate the honesty, but at least they can make a more informed decision about what they're going to do next.
Talk me through real estate at 24 at Wilson, running around with me versus
the young fox.
What's it like? Well, not many people were able to see what I was like back in the day.
That's right.
A lot of those early Tom Panos videos that people still watch today, that they were filmed right when I was driving Ruby the Red Rocket and you know, doing the things that I had to do to make a name for myself. But Jesse was there.
Well, we were so fortunate because, like, you know, I was 24, Marty, I think it was like maybe 25, 26 years old. And he was the only director in our office. We were underneath a train station. So there was most people in a real estate agency, the director's like 50 years old or older. They've been around the block forever. They've got a certain way that they do things. Whereas your approach was very much like whatever works. You know, like we were able to be ourselves. We weren't put into this little box, which was really refreshing because the people that we were working together, myself, Brad, Brendan, Grace,
Lucas,
Like a lot
It was
of
a
people,
great little crew.
great crew, and we don't fit the real estate mold. And this like group of misfits like came together, and you were an absolute listing machine. Like you would have been selling 80 plus properties a year.
Well, I look back on the numbers, and I was still at that point in time writing $250 a month, selling apartments.
Yeah, it was
like,
crazy.
I was still doing huge numbers in an area that really we didn't resonate that well with.
But can I jump in here? Do you think that, and this might be a loaded question, to be a very, very good real estate agent, you need that early 20s drive where you don't have necessarily all the, you got 2 kids now, you got 3 kids now, like the pressures are different and the drive is different. I see a lot of successful agents who've grinded their way through their early and mid 20s, and that's kind of the way up.
The amount of on-job learning during that period, the amount of trial and error. But this is the thing, this office, it was an office full of storytellers. I was just a storyteller.
And you're on Carlisle Street, like one of the
It
great
was the best.
story locations of Melbourne.
But Grace was a storyteller. Jesse was a storyteller. Lucas was a story. We were just very engaging humans. And if we were given an opportunity, because we were good at putting a deal together, they got done. Like we're talking hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of deals out of an office that was smaller than this. The entire office was smaller than this room, wasn't it?
Yeah, genuinely smaller in this room. Everyone had a standing desk.
And this is where, from those early days, when people go to me, whether it's a failing agent, well, now that we're at 90 plus staff now, I can let those comments sort of bounce off my back now when people say, "Oh, White Fox isn't this or isn't that." Do you know what? When I had what I had at your age and where I was working versus what we did, none of this actually makes any sense. Like the agency could have been called, Water Real Estate, and Jesse and I still would have done 200 transactions. It was just how hungry we were, how dialed in we were. Our market knowledge was phenomenal, and we just did not stop. That was the key.
So it mustn't have shocked you when White Fox started, because you'd seen this at its infancy, the fact that he could do that in that sort of office.
And he also saw me come from an agency that wasn't luxurious.
Yeah.
And from the early days when we weren't listing properties under $1 million, I was feeding some back to these guys and feeding them to, other friends that I had. It was a proper shift. What was it like watching it?
Oh, it was awesome watching it from the outside. Like, I think if I didn't get on the block and do what I was doing, like I would have been probably a little bit jealous, going like, "Oh, look at all the success," But I was so happy for you doing it, because you're on your path and I was on my own path. And
we both said that they were going to.
Yeah, we both said. I was like, "Look, this is not goodbye. Like this is just like I'll see you later." Like I always knew we were going to tee back up together and get the old band back together. It was just a matter of like when's the right time. I think that's another thing. Like you have to do everything that's working right for you. But talking about the previous agency, like our brand, people won't know it, won't say the name, but it was a fluoro pink logo. It was the ugliest logo that you could imagine
with
in real
lime
estate.
green.
With lime green. Like, I don't know who the graphic designer was, but they should be shot.
I remember his name.
Terrible. But we were fearless. Our strike rate of listing was so high. We rarely missed because we were great storytellers. We were very confident, but the brand didn't help at all. And so, it really is no excuse. The brand doesn't hurt you. It's like, how do you connect with the person the majority of the time? And now even like, working at White Fox, the brand helps because people obviously know the brand. But if you're going in there and you don't have the right pitch or the right strategy, you're not connecting with that person,
you'll lose the listing.
You're still going to lose the listing.
100%.
Well, can you tell us, because you're someone I think of in this office who is able to, we've always talked about no core area. And yes, there are agents who specialize or at least know a lot about a certain area, but they often sell outside of, and you've done that quite a lot. So how have you had success selling across Melbourne?
Well, I think it's so easy now with, all of our databases like, RP data, property data, even realestate.com and domain, to become very educated very quickly in an area. To figure out like what's a property worth, what's the square meter rate, look at comparable sales.
It can take an hour.
Yeah. It can take an hour.
And then it's about retaining that information and knowing what to say about it. So you can analyze a suburb or a street, but then when you understand real estate and you've got a real estate brain or a construction brain, you can explain the numbers behind the transaction. Like you can say to the potential vendor, X, Y, and Z happened because of these reasons within that asset.
Yeah.
And that's when you build that credibility.
But also the buyer. I mean, I remember with the one you sold in Moonee Ponds, the buyer came from Gippsland. So knowing Mooney Pond's buyers doesn't actually matter. You need to know who's buying this asset. What happens that we reach the right people.
You need to know negotiation. And that's why we've always said as a brand that hasn't always been so, focused on that core area type buyer. It's the local buyer that knows the local prices, and it's the out of area buyer that will pay overs because they're uneducated and they see value in something that, the locals may think's overvalued.
Yeah, well, so end of last year, I set the suburb record in Bentley East for 25 Neville, which was 3,770,000.
And who bought it? Where'd they come from?
They came from Instagram.
There you go.
They were looking at a property.
But where were they
in
living?
Brighton. They were living in 4 suburbs away in Ormond.
Yeah, there you go.
They were not looking at buying in Bentley East. So that was a suburb record. Set the highest sale price in Kensington of this year, which was just under 2.7 million for a single level 3-bedroom house.
How important has social media been for your career?
Yeah, it's incredible because, instead of just telling people, oh, look at me, how good I am, I get these good results, people can just see it with social proof. You don't have to call your clients, oh, I had a great result. You can connect with 100,000 people a month just through Instagram and social media. You can run social ads. So letterbox drops, yep, sure, they still work. But if you do that combined with a boosted post on Facebook and Instagram, it's more social proof. I can see, all right, 20,000 people within a 1 kilometre radius of this house have seen my post. So I know that they're seeing it. So then when you do the letterbox drop a week later, you're more inclined to get a phone call. When you go into the next listing, oh yeah, we just sold this place on Bangalore Street. Oh yeah, I saw an ad for that. I listed and sold 2 townhouses in Paran. And I went to the meeting, guys, I said, oh, why am I here? And he goes, oh, I keep seeing your ads pop up for this house that you set a record for. I'm like, oh yeah, cool. He's like, I want that for my house. I'm like, why do you say that? He goes, well, I'm looking at buying. I'm seeing the ad pop up. Obviously, other people who are looking at buying are going to see it as well. I don't just want your traditional realestate.com and domain listing. I want for everyone to see it. I was like, yeah, that's why we do it. I think of social media marketing now as the passive buyer. It used to be print media. Now it's social media. And that's how you find the passive buyer.
The problem is, though, you've gone to the next level with what you've done in your videos. So you've jumped in a pool.
Yeah, we jumped in a pool. That was the record we broke. Set the highest sale price in St Kilda for a new build this year for just under 5.7 I did, which was the highest sale of my career.
Now, that was an interesting house. Tell us about that one, because that was architectural.
Was that next to Hughes's?
Yeah.
Is he selling?
No, he's not. I did call him though.
Come on, Hughesy.
Come on.
Yeah,
You can't hold them all, mate.
Hughesy not selling. I did ask him though. A lot of people wouldn't, but I still
Well,
said,
he's an old. He was like the original Danny Wallace. He was always popping up with the block. He's probably bought 3 or 4.
Yeah, he's bought a few. I don't know if he's buying anymore.
G'day, mate.
I don't know if he's buying anymore. I did ask him though if he wanted to sell. He said, "No, I'm not selling." But my friend Kate is, and I was like, "What a legend!" So he's just thrown her under the bus and just give me a number and said, "Call her."
No, but I think she's already on the market.
No, she is on the market. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think she might have sold. Already.
Okay.
But so
She had it at the
basically,
time.
tell us about that. You set a record in the suburb. Campaign-wise, was it pretty clinical for you? You went into this architectural house, and tell us about that.
Yeah, so this is again choosing the right strategy. A lot of our competitors, we're in Melbourne, so it's a very auction-centric market. But I think I love doing auctions. I love calling auctions, but it's about knowing when to do an auction or when to do a private sale. In this instance, with Baker, we did an expressions of interest.
This is a big one. If you price the property wrong, it doesn't sell. If you pitch the property incorrectly, whether it be an AOI auction or private, it won't sell. It's so important, and to read the play on that is massive. For an auction agent like yourself to call it early and pivot straight to an AOI on something like that's what got that deal done. 100%.
100%. Because everyone else I was competing against said auction. I said, look, it's in St Kilda where the average price for a home is 1.7 million. It's not actually that high. There's obviously properties that sell for $5 and $6 million, but the average is much lower. So there's not going to be a lot of competition at this price point. It's also the coolest home I've ever sold. Plaisir Perkins with the architect, but it was a little bit eclectic. It's not for everyone. It's got breeze blocks, polished concrete floors, some pink walls and terrazzo tiles. So super cool house, very fun, but it's not like your standard double front Victorian where there's 100 people lining up to buy it.
Yeah, this was a unique.
It's a very unique home.
So when we started, St Kilda was really up and about and pumping as a destination, and it's had a really quiet few years. What's caused that? And do you think it's going to come back?
Well, I hope it comes back. One of the reasons I moved to Melbourne, my mum was actually like born and grew up in St Kilda. So even though I hadn't been here before, I always felt a bit of a connection to St Kilda.
But you know what I say? Do you agree with what I'm saying? That
I agree with what you're saying.
Not what it once was?
Yeah, it's nowhere near as buzzing and fun as exciting as when we started, like, with you, like 9 years ago.
We'd have nights out there all the time, and it just does not happen now.
If you go down Ackland Street,
Carlisle Street.
Look, Carlisle Street's probably coming up now a little bit better in Balaclava than, Ackland Street and Fitzroy Street. There's a lot of empty shops, like a lot of.
But you kept working in that market.
Yeah.
What put the nail in the coffin? What kept it down, and what's kept it down?
I don't know. Don't talk politics, but I think it's like poorly run. Like
it is.
The whole suburb is poorly run. Like the government does a terrible job because you've got people who live in the suburb paying high rates, high land tax, high rents for their shop fronts and commercial. And a lot of the residents are treated like second-class citizens. So, there's a lot of, there's a lot of homeless people, unfortunately, and I think that the government could do a better job to help those people.
Yeah, they're not helping them.
They just leave them on the street. Like, they're not providing anything for them. They just sort of like walk over them. And I think like that's on them. It shouldn't be on the private residents who own a house to try to solve this problem. There's a lot of drugs and stuff that happen in the neighborhood, which is not good. Like, make it a little bit. Look, it's a very fun suburb, but I think that's the reason why.
But it used to be family friendly. Like, I remember growing up in St Kilda, and it was fun. You'd hang out at the parks, you'd walk down the street, you'd get ice cream, you'd go to the beach. It was a vibe.
In any other city in the world, Fitzroy Street is the number one street in this city because it's on the beach, right? And it's not. My sister used to work.
But it was.
It was.
It was
Fitzroy
the number
Street
one.
was one of the best restaurants in Melbourne. All along there, Leo's Spaghetti was pumping. Now,
it's very quiet and it's sad. But I'm hoping that there have been a lot of massive changes. Like recently, I think what Tim Gurner did at St. Moritz is phenomenal. I don't think anyone else could have done that but him. And so that has created like a bit of an iconic building now in St. Kilda and brought a lot of money into the area. I know that a lot of the sort of government housing have been converted into sort of new government housing, but it's actually really nice as opposed to 20 people in sort of a couple of rooms. It's like one per room, and they've cleaned up a lot on Grey Street, which is really good. I know that they're looking at building the new marina in St Kilda, which I think is like a no-brainer. Like if you look at, look to LA, you've got...
well, just the major cities in the world that have that ability to rejuvenate a marina. With that comes better boats, more money, better tenancies, and it looks pretty freaking dilapidated. Like it is a rundown
no one goes to the
shithole.
marina. Who's going there?
Yeah, no one goes there. No one goes there. It's really sad. Like St Kilda is like the Bondi of Melbourne, and yet it's not as nice, not as clean, it's not as busy. It should be, by all accounts, the most expensive suburb in Melbourne. It used to be the most expensive suburb in Melbourne in like the 1800s.
It was the playground of the rich and famous.
It was the playground. You look at all the houses on Grey Street, people think Grey Street, that was the most expensive block of real estate in Victoria.
It was a boulevard.
It was a boulevard.
It's amazing.
The biggest
Crazy.
mansions. Crazy.
So I want to ask you, I want to jump back just quickly to one thing you said earlier, because I think this is really interesting. I'll be interested in your thoughts too about your first few weeks in real estate, because I wonder, is it better to have a really good start in real estate and then realize it's really hard, or have a really tough start and work your way to that position? Because I feel like if it's a tough start, potentially people drop out. But if you start really well, you think, this could be easy. Not easy, but it could be really good. You know what I mean?
I think regardless, if you are in the game for more than 2 years, you're going to see both sides of the coin.
Yeah.
You'll see both.
Yeah, definitely. There is, no matter how good a start you have, like
you're going to get punched in the face.
You're going to get punched in the face and kicked in the nuts. Like it's just going to happen, and it happens time and time and time and time again. And you can sit back and think, oh, poor me, I'm having such a hard time. I haven't had the run I wanted to. But the reality is, you talk to a few of your other mates in real estate, and everyone's going through it. You're not doing it in isolation.
But this happens often.
Yeah.
Like, how many times have we spoken and you've said, I'm just having a flat one? Like, you'll have a week where it's just you're hating life.
Yeah, because mine is like this. I respect agents who can just keep it like consistent. I don't know how they keep it flatline.
Because you've never been a flatline agent.
I've never been a flatline agent.
You're always up and down.
Peaks and troughs.
Yeah, but your peaks are peaks and your troughs are troughs.
Yeah, my peaks are massive peaks. But on the background, like when I'm having a trough, like I'm doing other things, like I'm filming.
But what do I say to you? I'm always look at it annually. Like,
annually.
Get your head out of the weeds, because on an annual allocation, you're actually doing really fucking well.
Yeah, I think you have to in real estate because it's so seasonal as well for agents. Like when Christmas rolls around, like most people, if you're selling like high-end homes, a lot of those families are going away for 4 or 6 weeks. They're going on holidays. So the end of December till like the end of January, there's not really a lot of activity happening. Yeah, sure, people are still doing deals, like whatever, but for the majority of people, they switch off from real estate, they go away. And then in Melbourne, the middle of the year, it's winter. And a lot of people, you're selling $5-6 million houses. They're gone. And even if you're not selling those houses, you're selling $1 million property, they have kids, they got school holidays, they don't want to be putting the house on the market in the middle of winter. So you do have like seasonal changes in real estate.
You say looking at the annual, that's all well and good, but in that moment when you haven't been paid for a month, 2 months, whatever it is, and you just don't know what's coming, that's pretty tricky. You've got a mortgage, you've got a partner. Like, how do you get through that? I understand it. If you look at your average income,
it's easy to say.
But when you're in there and it's like you're looking at bills and you're thinking about what's coming and you go, I don't know if this person's going to sell. That's a tricky position for agents. For anyone who thinks real estate is easy, that is the one fact that I think can really test a person.
But do you know what I think would be harder? Sorry to just butt in one more time. To look at the paycheck every month and know that you can't
get more.
You can't get more and work twice as hard. I think that's what you're addicted to. The fact that
I think most agents are like a little bit psycho, because if you look at the average that most agents earn, you could probably go and earn that working a 9-to-5 job
easily.
But we love the thrill
of knowing that. What if I could?
Yeah, like you might be 200 one year, then all of a sudden the next year like earning $500,000. Like you really can in real estate, like turn it around that quick. With a few things go your way, you put in a little bit more effort. But when I started real estate, like back to your point, a lot of people think it's going to be easy and I earn a lot of money. I told myself, I was very realistic. I looked at the numbers. Out of 100 people that start, only 4 people remain in 12 months. So there's a 4% success rate in real estate of people who will stay longer than 12 months. So my goal was, right, I'm going to be on a retainer of like $26,000 a year. If I can get to the end of 12 months and not owe anyone money on my retainer, then I've had a massive year in real estate. So that was my goal.
How good was a $26,000 retainer?
$26K.
Take us back.
Yeah. But I saved money before I started. I didn't want to, go into a listing that I had to.
Yeah, but you did 31 The Avenue at a 3% com, so you were home and hosed pretty quick.
Yeah, 3 months in, I put one big one away, and then some of the biggest fees I wrote in real estate were in my like second and third year.
Yeah, because you were naive. You weren't overthinking
you were
it.
Smart with your money then? Were you someone who was pretty savvy?
Yeah, I was pretty savvy. I've always been a good saver. I think that's one thing, like it's never mattered how much I earn. I pretty much spend the same. I don't buy really like expensive clothes or cars or like watches. Like I put all of my money into property. So, I bought a house a few months ago for like $1.5 million. We're about to spend, I don't know, over $1 million on doing essentially like a new build. So I'd rather do that.
And then you'll get Lana flipping it for 3.5.
Where are you going to live in it?
I don't know. I was speaking to someone about this the other day. They go, you're building your forever home. I said, well, I'm in my early 30s. If I can afford my forever home in my early 30s, then I'm not working hard enough. Like I really need to be pushing myself. I don't want to think that, this is all I'm going to ever own at like 30. So I think you need to.
I like that.
Yeah. Keep pushing harder. Don't have a dream to own your dream home in your 30s. Push.
Have you lent on him at all for the sort of, you both flipped and renovated houses? Have you lent on each other for that?
I think I'd probably have a better time doing it if I did what you did and do more nice, beautiful cosmetic renovations and facelifts. I think nobody does it better than you. Like the way you transform a home is incredible. I love it. I'm a sucker for punishment. I probably got a bit of an ego, so I like to go all out and blow the back out and do do these massive extensions.
He's knocking walls down. I'm like cleaning them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Perfect spit shine.
So, we started building our last this new one last week. And all we're keeping is the front facade. So it's going to be like a 4-bed, 2 living, double car, study,
Yeah, but
studio.
that's because you're skilled. One thing that I'm very good at doing is if I don't know how to do something, I'm going to stay away from it because I feel that that's where I'll trip up. So for me, I don't have that tradie background, and I know how to make things look good, and I know how to spot. Same way with people, I can spot talent, I can spot opportunity within an asset. If it just needs a couple minor things done, but across the entire asset from front gardens to existing floor plan to the back. If it's cosmetic, that's like what I'll find. And I'll have to look at 10 to find one, but they're in there in the marketplace. So then you've got a 10% of assets that are on the market that fit the bill. Then you need, for my formula, I need to get terms. So I need to get long settlements. Then I need to get 5% deposits. Then I need to get access to the property. So that's like another 5%, if that, which means that like my odds are so small. So I have to hunt like a maniac to find that flip that might generate $500,000 in profit in 12 months. But I know that people aren't looking as intensely as I am because I'm looking first app when I wake up, sort newest to oldest. When I go to bed, sort newest to oldest. I'm hunting every day. Even when I'm not in a position to purchase, I'm still hunting in case I can flick it to someone else.
Well, I was in the car yesterday with Mel and my 2 daughters. So I've got a 2.5-year-old and a 6-week-old. And we're driving past the house that we're going to start building in Balaclava. And Mel's going, why do we always do this? I said, what? She goes, it's just so much work. Like, why can't we just do, she's like, why can't we just do what Marty does? You know, like he turns around. I was like, I don't know, Dale, because I'm a sucker for pain. All right. I like to challenge myself. But yeah,
but you're a creator.
Yeah.
Like, you know, that you do have a creative flair and you're doing it through your builds. So I think you got to do what, you know, you're good at, and you have made good money off the ones that you've done. So don't change your formula.
No, you got to enjoy it. I love what I do. So I do like real estate's my full-time job. I film like 3 other TV shows in the background.
So what are the TV shows that you're doing at the moment?
Open Homes Australia, Renovate or Rebuild. The 3rd one's coming out in February.
Can you give a sneak peek here or not?
Well, essentially, it's like a cross between The Block and Grand Designs. And so the last house I built, we documented the whole thing. That's coming out. And then I think Channel 9 love it so much, they've already ticked off on season 2.
Love that.
So yeah, we filmed the first episode at my new house last week.
How good's that?
So mate, it's so good having you on, and you are a genuinely good person as well. Around the office, very, very well liked. What's the dream for you? Like you're, mid-30s.
He's living it.
I know. Is this it?
Literally.
Is this
Literally living it.
Yeah.
Like, what's the dream? Is it?
He's not living in the dream house.
Have 2 months in Queensland every year, or like what for you? You're only early on in your life still. What's the dream?
Yeah, well, like literally, I'm living the dream. I just want to be more successful at it. Like I love real estate. I think I'll always do real estate. Listing and selling houses is so fun. And the longer you're in it, I feel like the easier it gets because you've never a situation you haven't come across before, so you know how to handle it. I just want to keep building, started a building company with my brother-in-law, start of the year. We've already got 5 contracts under our belt. Just want to keep building on that and just developing our own. That's the goal.
I feel like being at White Fox, you can do these things outside of the day-to-day listing and selling, and it's supported. And I think that's something that you would probably struggle to find in another company.
Yeah, well, some people know who I am at other agencies, and so it's not uncommon for me to get a phone call and go, "Are you happy at White Fox?" So, mate, I love it at White Fox. I love working with Marty. I don't ever see myself working somewhere else. If I didn't work for you, I wouldn't be in real estate. I don't fit in anywhere else.
Or they don't have a place for you. It's not about you. It might be more about the structure.
Probably a bit of both. But I enjoy it here. I'm able to be myself. Like you're very supportive and encouraging of what I'm doing, which is very great to have a leader like that. It wasn't like that. Previous place I worked at. You just don't get that support.
To be yourself.
Yeah, to be yourself. They try and put you in a box. Or have you called 100 people today? No, but I had a really great coffee and lunch, and I've got picked up a listing on 100 apartments that I'm selling. Oh, really? So you didn't? Yeah, I didn't need to make 100 calls. I had a lunch. Like
I love that.
Do you know what's great though, and testament to you. Like you've talked about it. It sounds to me like he hasn't changed at all since he was 26 years old when you were sitting in that tiny little office and that's awesome. Do you know what I mean? That you were able to go through those next few years of your development alongside him and then start White Fox and take that same mentality, that same process to your own company.
Yeah, well,
And you've come back and experienced it again.
not to blow any more smoke, but a lot of people say to me, oh, what's it like working with Marty? You know, like, oh, he's a big shot now. He's on TV. I said, well, I've started working with him 9 years ago, right, in a shoebox of an office underneath a train station. And he was exactly the same then as he is now. He's just 100 times more successful and he hasn't changed. I was like, you can't knock the guy. Like, he literally, like, everything he has, he earns it, he worked for it, and he's still the same person. He'll still send you a message at 10 o'clock at night going, you're all good, mate, thumbs up. He'll FaceTime you in, like, you know, in the shower with no clothes on. And then take a screenshot to show people. I'm like, why are we showing people this? Like, it just, you haven't changed. That's why I love it. I really enjoy working here. I reckon you're a great bloke, and you are someone to look up to in that, you know, you can just be yourself. You can be your authentic self and you can be successful.
Thank you.
It's
Great.
Finish, isn't it?
It's a really nice way to finish, and it's just great having history with people that you admire and that they believe in the vision, and that you can build, you know, the life that you truly believe is living the dream, and that, you know, I'm a passenger in yours and you're a passenger in mine. I think it's unbelievable. It's really cool.
Love it.
Thanks
for having us.
Great to have you on, Jesse. Remember, you can catch this podcast at anywhere you get podcasts. Marty didn't like I didn't sell it last time, but you're already listening, so you don't have to worry about it. Jesse, mate, it's so good to have you on.
Thank you, bro.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Shu.
Thanks, buddy.